Today we're going to be fixing a water pump on a Chevy Impala 2009. First order of business is to remove that coolant reservoir next to the alternator. Put that aside. Go ahead and remove the fuse box. You don't have to remove it, just get it out of the way. I had to remove this bracing right here. It's just 13 mil bolts for me. I believe it's 15 mil for the factory standard, but I had a rebuild on mine. I did total this vehicle. Go ahead and remove the battery and try to get the fuse box out as best as you can. It's definitely in the way, but we will make do. And this is the general area we'll be working in. Typically want to replace a water pump if you have screeching noises or if you have a coolant leak issue. That is the power steering pump, and that is the radiator cap that you're going to have to remove. That is the radiator hose going to your radiator, which you're going to have to drain right now. So go ahead and get you a pan, slide it underneath the vehicle. Now, try not to confuse that drain for the 10 mil bolt right there. That's what you're looking for. It almost has like a Phillips head screwdriver slid in there. And then this is on the radiator. You're gonna find this nozzle right here. You're gonna have to turn that, loosen that. But for me, it was a bit too tight to get to, so I had to go get my pliers and just break that free. And then it was very easy to loosen. Now, if you pull this all the way out, coolant will start to drain from this area. So you only want to twist it about said much right here. You don't have to pull it all the way out. Let it drain as it is right now. Then, to relieve the pressure, make sure the car is not hot, and take off that radiator cap right there, and that should relieve the pressure, and then it will start draining immediately. Remember to keep that screw in there so it does not come out of the radiator as well. It just goes out of the designated drain area right there underneath the car. Good stuff. And now you can screw the cap on once. Some say you only have to drain half. We're going to try to drain as much as possible because we think that the water pump may be holding some in the area as well. And this is the serpentine belt extension bar. I got it from Harbor Freight. Very simple. Good stuff there, but you could use a 3-inch breaker bar, etc. Now this right here is the one bolt you want to get to. It is a 15 mil. Actually, I believe it is a 13 mil, excuse me. Or whatever standard size you're working with. So just go ahead and break that free. So now you have access to the water pump pulley. You can kind of push it out of the way, but as long as you take the bolt free, you'll be fine. So that is where the belt tensioner is down there. Go ahead and put your 3/8 drive in there, if you're able to see that. Tried to make it a bit easier for y'all. Okay, and you just pull down on that towards the front of the car, and it relieves the tension on the belt, and you're able to, that is your the top of the serpentine belt, but you're going to want to go right in the middle. The water pump pulley has those 4 bolts on there. It should be the only pulley with the 4 bolts on the front, and one in the middle, of course. But you do not have to remove the one in the middle. So if you try to remove them now, it will just spin in place like you can see me doing it right now. So you want to keep the belt on there until you remove the bolts, or else it will just spin in place. Getting the belt back on there. Perfect. We're going to go get our 10 mil socket. These are 4 10mm bolts. Very easy to break loose. And this shouldn't be the difficult part here. No coolant should come out with just taking the pulley off. Very safe stuff right here. Again, try to work with a vehicle that has not been running and is not hot. You do not want a hot engine or hot coolant coming out at you at all, especially with opening the radiator cap at all. You want to take off those 10mm bolts. Oh, and if you drop one, this is my favorite tool when working with a car. It is a long grab type tool that is used to get hair out of the drain in the shower, and it just works wonders when you're working with cars. You drop a bolt, you can't see it. There you go. And so I believe we just knocked the pulley loose. Yep, we got all the 4 bolts out of there. Still loosening the bolts there. All right, and the pulley just comes right off. I am pulling on the belt tensioner as well to give myself plenty of leverage here. Just go ahead and pull that pulley out. Again, it just sits on the bolt in the middle, and those 4 bolts, the 4 10mm bolts, keep it in place. And then you have 5 bolts that are actually holding in the water pump here. There's 2 on the right side and then 3 on the left. And the water pump itself is sort of S-shaped, if you will. The 2 on the right are really easy to get to, and the 3 on the left, obviously, with more stuff in the way, can take some time, but you can definitely do this. Just go ahead and get those bolts out there. I believe those are 13mm as well, or standard size, whatever you're working with. Yep. Definitely had to go back and forth between hand loosening them and using the ratchet there. Definitely a two-handed job. Working on getting those bolts in there. I was trying to show you every angle possible so you could kind of understand where the bolts were in correlation to all the other parts on the car. So I hope this helps or makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know about the locations of anything. I'll be more than happy to answer them. I don't think I'm going to show every bolt here, but pretty self-explanatory. There is 5 bolts holding the water pump in place, and when we remove this 5th bolt, be careful, there could be some coolant that is still ready to come out.
Whoa, shit.
As you can see, this is what we're looking for here. That is the drain plug that you do not want to remove all the way. But I did remove it just so you could see what we're working with here. And that goes down in there in the radiator, exactly where you can see that shiny area down there. And with all the coolant drained, you can continue to remove that last bolt there. And sometimes people will say that their water pump might be stuck on there, have to give it a wiggle, but this one just came right off. And it was ready to go for sure. So go ahead and get that old water pump out of there. The gasket is built in on this one. You can see the, yeah, I'm just done with that one. Ready for a new one. So here's the new gasket. Make sure that fits on the old one. Right? And now fit it on the new one. A great tip. Well, here is the actual mechanism we're working with here. That's the S shape. You can see the 2 bolts on the right and the 3 bolts on the left. Try to put the gasket in place and then put 2 bolts on the opposite sides, diagonal across from each other. It should give you a bit more leverage that way. You want to hand tighten those in. That's probably the hardest part, is to get the gasket on right, make sure everything's fitting, but there's no problem. You can definitely do this. I filmed everything and did the whole process in 2 hours, so I know you can do this. Right, tighten that up once you've got the bolts on there. As you can see, brand new water pump, looking really clean. Loving it. Right, just tighten those down. 13 mil. Feel free to put some thread lock on there. Good stuff. And then there's the pulley. That's all it is to installation. Water pump's in there. You put the pulley on the bolt in the middle. Rest it on there. And then you're gonna have to match up the bolt with the 4 bolts that spin on the front of the water pump, but that is not the hardest thing to do. Just kind of stick it in there and guess, kind of rotate the pulley until you find it, like such. Again, we've already found one hole and it's sort of difficult to thread in the other, but just keep looking, you will definitely find it. Right. Trying to force this out there, but there we go. It's finally threading in there. Just go ahead and screw that in. And again, the 4 bolts on the pulley are 10 millimeter, and the 5 bolts on the water pump are 13. Let's go ahead and screw that in. Right. I'm not going to show the last one. But in order to get those tight down, we're going to want to pull the bar, as you can see, get your serpentine belt on there, back in the position that it was around all the other pulleys. I didn't really get a good shot of that there, but that's the next video, is installing a new serpentine belt on your car, and I'll show you how to get everything properly aligned. So with the serpentine belt on and the tensioner back to its original position, you can tighten those down and really feel confident that everything's in place. You should have tightened down the water pump as much as possible. Again, it's not too necessary to where you need to break out the torque wrench or anything, but just tighten them down. Good thing is you got new parts. And then go ahead and put that bolt in there. It's that 15 mil. Tighten that down. And then you're pretty much good to go. You put everything back in place. Once everything is tight, put the coolant reservoir or the antifreeze reservoir back in its place. Those are 10 mil bolts right there. Go ahead and put your battery on there. Connect the positive. Make sure you connect the negative as well. And connect any connectors that you left going. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time.